Welcome to BitBoy Crypto. My name is AJ, and this is the price prediction department. This week, by popular demand, we are going to cover Optimism. Let's get it. A lot of times in crypto, you will hear people say, oh, this next coin, it's an Ethereum killer. That coin's an Ethereum killer. With all due respect, I disagree. And that's because I think Ethereum's worst enemy is itself. And if you ever got hit for a $300 to $500 gas fee, you know what I'm talking about. And this is why layer 2 projects are so important. Layer 2 projects are imperative because they take the load off of the mainnet. They prevent bottlenecking, they increase throughput, they increase speed, and they lower gas fees. We all know that Matic is top dog when it comes to L2s, but that number 2 spot has to go to Optimism. What separates them is that Matic uses ZK rollups. Optimism uses optimistic rollups. How this works is, instead of processing one smart contract at a time, they can roll them up in a bundle. With ZK rollups, each transaction has to be verified before the transaction can go through. With optimistic rollups, they assume that it's already good. They're optimistic about the fact that the transaction is valid. Doing it this way saves a lot of time and effort. And to ensure the integrity of the transactions, Optimism uses a mechanism called fraud proofs. So if a validator thinks the transaction that already went through was in fact malicious or not correct, they will submit a fraud proof and go back and check it. And if it turns out they're right, the person that submitted the original transaction that was incorrect gets hit with a penalty. Let's not go too far under the hood here, but let's look at it this way. ZK rollups and optimistic rollups both share the same goal: scalability. But they're different because they both have different advantages and disadvantages, and they both can be used for separate use cases. Optimistic rollups generally cost less and work a little bit faster. They're also less complex, they have lower latency and faster finality, and they have greater scalability potential. Optimistic rollups can be used for DeFi, NFTs, gaming. And when you think about it, gaming is a big one because there's so many small little transactions, it's much easier and faster to put them in an optimistic rollup. Optimistic rollups are also good for supply chain, logistics, governance, voting, and micropayments and transactions. Built on Ethereum, the mainnet for Optimism was launched in December of 2021, but the coin itself was actually launched May 31st of 2022. As you can see on the screen here, Optimism's ecosystem is absolutely massive. In fact, WorldCoin, created by Sam Altman, who created ChatGPT, actually switched sides from Matic to Optimism. Speaking of partners, Optimism actually has some really big venture capitalists backing them. This includes Paradigm, Andreessen Horowitz, and IDEO Ventures. But if we're going to talk about partnerships and Optimism, we have to talk about Coinbase. They are both putting their heads together to create Base. Simply put, it is another layer 2 platform designed to bring the next billion users into Web3. The fact that Optimism has so much VC backing and has this partnership goes a long way when thinking about price predictions. Before I get to the price prediction, I want to talk about two big stories with Optimism from the news lately. One of them is really bullish, and one of them, not so much. Let's go with the good news first. On June 6th, Optimism is doing a hard fork called Bedrock. According to their website, Bedrock is a complete rewrite of an entire rollup stack and will be the largest upgrade ever released on the OP mainnet. Long story short, they're doing the Bedrock Hardfork to reduce transaction fees, increase network security, and to be more compatible with Ethereum. According to a tweet from OP Labs, the Bedrock upgrade will bring a 47% reduction in protocol cost and security fees to the Optimism mainnet. Not only does this hard fork bring down the fees and make it more secure, this upgrade is a step forward to their overall goal, which is to create the superchain. The superchain is not just a must for Optimism, but it's also a must for Base. On last week's video, we talked about Quant and how important interoperability is. This is the same idea with the superchain. According to the Optimism website, The Superchain project seeks to maximize interoperability and composability between different chains using the OP stack and integrate siloed L2s into a single cohesive layer. Just like my analogy last week, how each blockchain and each L2 is kind of like a city on a map and they're all not connected. The idea of interoperability is to be the highway between these cities so they're all connected together in one cohesive bundle. But before Base can launch, they still have a couple more things they have to do on their checklist. If you look at this tweet here, you will see the OP mainnet upgrade to Bedrock that's happening this week. Once that's finished, they still have to complete audits with no critical issues, and they have to make sure the testnet is stable. Once all these things happen, they will be able to launch Base, and there is no date on that quite yet, and also Base does not plan to launch their own token. To be completely honest with you, I am very curious to see how the rollout of Base really affects crypto as a whole, and if it really does bring 1 billion new users into crypto, I'm here for it. So the other news story that's really not that bullish for Optimism is the token unlock. If you look at this screenshot here, just from last week, you will see that there was 335.3 million Optimism in its circulating supply. Since this screenshot was taken on May 28th, over 368 million more tokens were added to the Optimism supply. Optimism's price did fall 7% since the unlock, but not that many holders sold. Understand that this unlock was the first time those long-term investors finally got a hold of their tokens after they had to wait a full year. Since those tokens have been unlocked, there's a little over 644 million tokens now in the circulating supply. The bad news here is that that is only 15% of the total supply. But this is where things got really confusing in my research. I looked at vesting schedules on a couple other websites, and I was completely confused until I looked at Optimism's actual website. Notice that on this chart that shows its vesting schedule, it doesn't say max supply, it says available supply. The thing here is that the max supply for Optimism is a little over 4.2 billion with a 2% inflation every year. But it's going to take a very long time for all of those coins to bleed into the supply. Remember, the price prediction equation is price equals market cap divided by circulating supply. So our job is to first find out what the circulating supply will be by the time we get to the all-time highs, which is projected to be September, November of 2025. If you clicked on this fact sheet from their website, you will see here that the cumulative OP circulating supply between May 25 and April 26 is projected to be 2.736 billion. Keep in mind, this is just an estimation, but at least this number is from Optimism themselves and not Token Unlock or Token Terminal, which numbers are a little bit off on their vesting schedules. So since the 2.7 billion number is for April of 26, let's meet it in the middle and guesstimate that around September, November of 2025, we'll be looking at about 2.4 billion tokens in the circulating supply. So now that we have the denominator, let's get the numerator. When Optimism hit its all-time high on February 24th this year, it hit a price point of $3.26. At the time, it only had 234 million in its supply, and its market cap was only 718 million. Right now, Optimism is priced at $1.40, and its market cap is higher than it was when it hit its all-time high. Its market cap right now is 905 million. Getting to $1 billion market cap isn't really easy in crypto. Only 45 projects, stablecoins included, have a market cap over $1 billion. I know that's not completely fair to say because at the top of the bull run, there was 110 projects over $1 billion. The point I'm trying to get across here is that just getting to $1 billion in crypto is not very easy. So with the increased supply of 2.4 billion tokens, if Optimism's market cap did a 10x and got to $9 billion, it would be worth about $3.77. But you got to understand, remember, when it hit its old all-time high of 326, its market cap was only 718. It has so much more work to do to catch up to its supply. So do I think at the top of the next bull run that Optimism can reach and surpass its previous all-time high? It's possible, but the market cap is going to have to do serious work, and I really think all of this hangs on how well the partnership with Coinbase and that platform Base works out. If Base, really does onboard 1 billion people, or at least a good amount of them by 2025, I think it's possible for Optimism to maybe even catch Matic in the long run, but maybe not this bull run. I mean, just saying that's a big reach. I mean, Matic got a head start and it has an $8 billion market cap right now. So Optimism has a lot of catching up to do before we can even consider talking about a flippening for the #1 spot with L2s. And also keep in mind, as we get to the all-time high, more and more Optimism is going to unlock up the hill if you look at the vesting schedule for its available supply. And while this happens, every time it unlocks, there's going to be more sell pressure, and this could discourage their holders. But also keep in mind, when these tokens unlock, that value also unlocks as well. If you look at this chart on Masari here, you can actually see that the market cap jumped up significantly the day all those tokens were put out. And I actually expected more people to sell off, and it was only ended up being a 7% drop, and it has caught up 2% since then. But here's the question. Those people have been holding for a very long time. When are they going to press the eject button? This is really hard to tell, and this is a super difficult coin to do a price prediction on because of how much the supply is jumping, and the success of its partnerships still remain to be seen. Make sure you keep all of that in mind, but here's my price prediction. I believe that Optimism's market cap can do a 10x from now. Also because when all those tokens unlock, that value is added in. So let's hope that they don't sell off and they hold that value in the market cap. If that happens, and if the market cap can 10x from here, that would spit Optimism out with a market cap just over $9 billion. That would equate to a $3.75 Optimism. That is the lower part of my range, and I'm going out on a limb here thinking that it can surpass its all-time high, but this happening is completely reliant on the success of its partnerships and the people who get the unlocked tokens not selling off. For the higher end of my range, if Optimism had a $14 billion market cap, that would spit Optimism at $5.83. Boom. There you go. There's my Optimism price prediction. Am I too conservative? Am I too bullish? Let me know. I want to know what you think in the comments. Also, for next week on the price prediction department, I do plan on doing Gala. There's been a lot of requests for Gala, so I'm going to fulfill that and do that coin next week. But for the week after that, let me know in the comments what coins you want to see. I really enjoy doing this. I'm very grateful. So thank you for all your positive feedback. My name is AJ Writes Crypto, and have yourself a great weekend.